Hi, and welcome to Carolina Varsity's Week 6 Players of the Week. I'm Dale Ross.
And I'm Matt Maher, the Pep Man. And I've got 3 players from my game, Rocky River Myers Park. And actually 2 of them I did a post-game interview with for the first time. Okay. And that was pretty cool. Deron Davis and Elijah Jett, both running backs for Rocky River. Davis had 2 touchdown runs. And Elijah had a 57-yard touchdown run. And they both kept the chains moving all night long. And, without those 2, I don't know if Rocky River wins. Rashad Brandon, unfortunately, went down with a knee injury earlier in the game. So those 2 guys kind of picked up the slack for Rocky River. And for Myers Park, I chose Scotty McDaniel. He had the 26-yard TD catch in the first half. And with Alexander out, he was kind of the focus of the offense. Myers Park tried to free him up a couple different ways, and Rocky River was on. But he really flashed some ability. I think he's a real quick type receiver. They use him out of the slot a lot. Try to get him on some screens, some play action type stuff down the field. So he's a good player. Earlier in the season he had 3 touchdowns against South Meck, and I saw why. He's actually one I didn't coach. Okay. So it was my first time seeing him, but good job for all 3 of those guys.
Wow. Well, for my game, I think it was hard for me at first to pick, but after a lot of thought, I picked Delmarious Giliam, the defensive end linebacker, depending on if they're in a 3-4 or a 4-3 for Olympic. He put a lot of pressure on the quarterback, recovered a fumble, ran it in for about 24 yards, I think it was. That was the first score of the ball game. He also had a breakup late after the ball was in the receiver's hands. He popped the ball back out, turned into an interception that was in the red zone. So I thought he played a really good ball game. Coach Shuford said the entire defense. So the entire defense did play well, and I didn't mention in the recast, but Dinkins was playing in a cast, and I've got a nice picture up on the side of him double teamed and still making a tackle. So the defense played very well. And then for on the offense, Isaac Garcia. You got to mention, because he was 19 carries, 161 yards, 1 TD. He was one of those that also kind of helped keep the chains moving. And I thought on the other side, while Pearl played a very nice game, I thought Caleb York really deserved the mention. Quarterback, running that read option, ran it I think very well for something that looks like this maybe new coming into the system. He's a big kid. He throws the ball well, and he runs very well with the ball. So those are my players of the game.
Caleb was one for me earlier this season as well. I'm very impressed with his ability. This kid right here, Central Cabarrus, they're in the Observer Sweet 16, and they were on our edge of the Power 15 last week. Kenny Purvis, 477 rushing yards. I mean, that's a state record that there wasn't a yardage total that high since the year 2000, according to Langston in the Observer. 477 yards rushing, 6 touchdowns, and a 63-26 win over Hickory Ridge. This is a good team, and even though they're in the Sweet 16, a lot of people aren't talking about them. That's going to be one to watch up there in Cabarrus County, because those guys are getting it done, and they got a good head coach up there, Donnie Kiefer from Tuscola.
Well, first of all, that's awesome, 477 yards. I don't care what level you're playing at. Yes. That's a lot of yards. And as far as the team, Central Cabarrus, they may be in my 15 this week. They've been on the edge, and it's been kind of hard, but, they just keep winning, so kind of hard not to. My next player is a kicker, and we've mentioned this kid before, but David Lamb from South Mecklenburg, and their big win over Harding. One of the keys to winning a ball game, of course, is limiting the other team's opportunity. And when they're having to start from the 20-yard line every time, that makes it very difficult. So it was 5 of 6 for kickoffs that were touchbacks. And Coach tells me that the only reason the other one wasn't was they were penalized and he had to kick off from the 25-yard line. He was 6 for 6 on extra points, and he had a 43-yard field goal, which in high school, actually, it's hard for when you get out of past 40 yards. College kickers, you start wondering whether they're going to make it, and even pro kickers, it becomes kind of a little bit of a question mark. Maybe pros are more at 45 to 50 range, but still 43 yards for a high school kicker. That's pretty good. So he is one of my players of the game from that particular game. I'll go ahead and throw out the other player, Stephen Griffin from South Mecklenburg. He threw 2 TD passes, and he returned an interception for 55 yards for a touchdown. So he accounted for 3 touchdowns in that big win. And I call it a big win because it's their first win this year. Right. And it may not be a big win over Harding, but hey, we picked Harding to. Well, I think you actually picked South Meck to win the ball game.
I picked Harding by 1.
Was it Harding by 1? I picked Harding by 1. I think we both thought it would be a 1-score game, and it turned out not to be. Very good ball game, guys.
Good job. Josh Stilley, once again for me, up at Hough. Bounces back from last week's. Kind of struggled in the passing game last week against Independence. 294 yards, 6 touchdowns, both records for him. And a big win, 42-13 over Hopewell. And get that passing game to match with that running game with Morrell, they're going to be tough.
Well, he was my shout-out kind of last week because of how he managed the game against Independence. He had a real nice game throwing the ball, it looks like. And some of the guys over there think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the state, so he put some numbers up that kind of looks like that.
Yeah.
I didn't get any, we did not get any nominations on the board this week. I'm kind of discouraged about that. But in reading one of the articles from Anthony in South Point, Tyler Bray set a school record of all-time rushing record. He needed like 100 yards in the game. I think he ended with 120 yards is what you were telling me earlier. 4,700 yards career approximately for Tyler Bray. So really, his stats. He had a few touchdowns. He returned one in the game for. He returned a kick for a score as well. But really, it's more of a shout out for what you've done in your career. Really, really nice.
Yeah, great job, Tyler. That's awesome. I've got 2 from the same game here down in South Carolina. First, Ryan Moore for York, running back. 19 carries for 187 yards and 2 touchdowns and a 50-26 win over Rock Hill. Coach Bobby Carroll said this is the first time since 73-74 that York has beaten Rock Hill in consecutive seasons. Also for Rock Hill, Justin Stokes, 27 carries and 180 yards and 2 TDs in a losing effort. So you got 2, real good running backs going back and forth there, and I'm sure that was a lot of fun to see down in York County.
Exactly, and it is kind of a surprise seeing York beat Rock Hill anytime, let alone back to back. That's pretty
Coach
impressive.
Carroll's got them turned around down there.
I heard about a ball game that was pretty exciting with Cox Mill and Northwestern. And so I went to look for, what was impressive out of the ball game. And, of course, I had to go by what I read online, what I read for the paper, the Tribune. And all I could get out of it was that really from an individual, and it's pretty impressive, Northwestern was up big. And Hunter Longmeir brought Cox Mill back and I guess was able to put them into overtime. 15-27, which is, that's above 50%, 310 yards. But he also rushed for 182 yards. So, that's nearly 500 yards total offense he accounted for.
That's awesome.
We don't know the number of TDs he threw, but at least he threw 1 TD and probably threw a couple more. Sorry, it just wasn't in the paper. And that was a 41-35 overtime loss. That's a really good ball game for anybody at any level.
Excellent. Good job, Hunter. Moe Neal at Forestview, 6 catches for 86 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 carries for 107 yards.
Wow.
And the highlight with that was a 98-yard touchdown run. And that's I tell you, that's rare.
That is.
I'll tell you, that's in a 63-7 win for Forestview over Lake Norman Charter. So, good job to Moe.
Yeah, reading Jeff's article, I kind of gathered he had well, wasn't much of a ball game, but the kid had some good stats.
Chaz Surratt at East Lincoln. We talked about this kid since he was a freshman last year. 447 total yards, rushed for 260 yards and 5 touchdowns, and also threw for 187 yards and 2 touchdowns. And a 55-26 win over Bandies, who's no pushover. That's accounting for 7 touchdowns, almost 450 total yards. I mean, the kid's a stud. Go see him out there in East Lincoln.
Yes.
He's worth the price of admission. Team we don't talk about a lot, Parkwood out of Union County. Sam Mobley, who's a receiver out there, had 2 kickoff returns for touchdowns, 2 TD catches, and a 53-3 win over Cherryville. So I know Tim that runs Union County football is always talking about Sam Mobley being a star to watch for Parkwood. So he's doing a good job down there.
Yes.
And finally, Reid at Concord, star running back, 22 carries for 247 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a 55-28 win over East Rowan. East Rowan's no pushover. Good job to Rocky, good job to Coach Patchett, and the Spiders are in our Power 15, and a big reason why is Rocky Reid.
Well, thanks. I wish we'd had more nominations this week, but that's it. If you see a player do something very great next week, let us know about it so we can try to talk about it. Thank you.
Appreciate it.